Welcome back to the Unanimous Decision Podcast. I'm your host, DPalm. Follow me on Twitter at DPalm66. Follow the show on Twitter at UDPod. And you can follow all of the MTR Network's mini podcasts and written offerings by following at the MTR Network on Twitter. Very, very simple. What do you get when you subscribe to that? Well, good question, easy answer. All the podcasts you're loving, including UDPod, all the information you guys up to date on releases. But the best way to make sure you don't miss any UDPod episodes, like, I don't know, dropping one the morning of the finals, like, whatever. Yeah, you've got to subscribe. Go to the iTunes store. You've got the show. You may be on the main feed. Do me a huge favor. Subscribe to the UDPod feed as well. That way, you're not like a day or two behind. We get backed up. We put out a lot of content. I don't know if you noticed. Sometimes the pods get backed up. There'll be a day late on the main feed. Go ahead and subscribe to the UDPod feed. That way you don't miss anything. And while you're subscribed, hey, you know, you're already there. Take an extra 5 seconds. Drop a 5-star review in the on the review section, because anytime you do, as per MTR Network policy, it gets read on the air. We do have one new review, and I'm glad we've got the guest we've got, because actually, let me introduce the guest though to the review. So this summer, you're going to notice that with the sports desert, as I call it, this show is going to turn into some more things. You've seen, like, the last couple of weeks, the interviews have gone a little bit longer, a little more in depth. You're going to see more of that. We're going to have people inside and outside of sports, commentating on sports, but also telling us kind of like their stories. And look, man, having a podcast is cool because I've had a dope life. I've met a lot of dope people, and I get to talk to them. That being said, this is not one of those shows. The person I'm talking to is dope, but we're not going to interview his ass because I've known him too well. My old friend Chad Floyd from Dude You Crazy. Also, recently, SB Nation, the Tar Heel blog, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. What's the site called?
So it's called tarheelblog.com, actually, easily enough.
I shot that one in the dark. That's synergy.
Man, Chad. You nailed that. Yeah. I'm going to be covering some football over there, hopefully getting into their podcast side as well. But so far, so good. Nice to be in the SB Nation universe. They've got a great platform for writing. But one day in, one article up, and so far, so good.
And it's wild because as you say that, I kind of did want to interview you about like why I stopped writing and why it's so much more fun for me to podcast, because writing's so fucking lonely. But I said I'm not going to do that.
It is. I mean, you're in there with your own thoughts, and
it's you and
realize
that,
you just have conflicting voices inside your own head.
Cursor just judging you.
Yeah, I mean, so many times when I have writer's block, I just write the word "the" just to get something on there, just to feel like I'm accomplishing something. I mean, you might notice that I've fallen off a little bit on Dude You Crazy writing side, and we had the pod going pretty well up through when my co-host, the financial advisor, had financial advising tax season.
That's a good way to get a co-host to leave. But the reason I want to intro you first is because we do have a new review, but it's from someone who I met while we were living together.
Boy.
The review is called Super Unbiased 5-Star Review. It's left by Snoozens. UDPod is thought-provoking and insanely informative. DPalm's ability to delve into more global issues within the sports industry, as well as his refusal to gloss over controversial topics, makes the podcast an engaging listen for all, regardless of their level of knowledge. His guests are held to a similar standard and always bring something exciting to the table. Needless to say, if you aren't listening, you're for sure missing out. Daniel, I know this is my chance to make you say whatever I want on air, but all I've got is don't ever stop, because in the words of the great TJ Lavin, you're killing it. Love you always. The future Mrs. DPalm66. Thank you, Susan. That's my fiance leaving her.
Oh, beautiful.
We've come so far, Chad.
I mean, once you're getting significant others to throw down 5-star reviews without
that's a commitment
with some sincerity in it.
Yeah, well, she felt that, or at least she sold it like she did. I'll take either way.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's all the same in the dark.
Well, let's get to it, man. We are going to talk about the finals right now. We do want to talk about some like other crazy shit that's going on in sports. Over Memorial Day weekend, I don't know what Tiger Woods in national holidays is. They don't seem to mix. 9 years ago it was Thanksgiving. This year is Memorial Day. The reports early said DUI, Tiger Woods, and all these sad statements came out, all these disappointments and these moralistic attacks on Tiger as a bad person. And then they said, oh, no, he blew a .00, and maybe, just maybe, he was on some pain meds. And as a nation, we kind of like, oh, well, that's excusable. Chad, is that kind of like our like weird love-hate relationship with alcohol that we have, because we sell it, and it's one of the things that we sell that is designed only to get you fucked up. But when you get fucked up, we get this. We act like this.
Yeah, I don't really know where the hot takes are coming from, whether it's Tiger is just losing his mind because he's drunk driving or driving under the influence, but people just seem to want to take a moralistic stance against Tiger Woods, just whatever opportunity they get. It's really kind of baffling because, there is the war on PEDs and painkillers in the NFL right now, and that's very much at the forefront of the PR battle against the NFL right now. And to see, I don't know if there's some kind of weird juxtaposition to where it's odd to see a golfer on pain meds or something, but I really don't understand the moralizing one way or the other. What I will say, though, is Tiger has built courses in Jupiter, Florida, where there are bars at the courses in Jupiter, Florida. Buddy, you have houses in those gated communities in Jupiter, Florida. Just drink and drive home in a gated community.
But that's the thing.
Come on, man.
That's the thing.
But he wasn't drinking.
That I don't get is like, even beyond the he wasn't drinking part, it's so weird because as like a nation, we've accepted that if you drive drunk, you're a terrible person and you endangered people. But like, we have a massive opioid crisis in this country. Like you mentioned, the NFL is in court against the feds because of the amount of painkillers they just give to these players like candy. We know it's damaging to people, yet when we hear that it might be pills, it becomes then maybe is it because so many of us are on these prescriptions, and because if we hear a drug came from a doctor, we're okay with it? Is that the line? I don't know. It's weird because say what you will about alcohol, and you and I have enjoyed a drink or two in our time.
Or two.
It's always addressing something. No one is in the perfect zen place in drinking. Even if you're happy, you want to be happier, you'll drink. If you're sad and you want to be sadder, you'll drink. If you're sad and you want to be happy, you'll try to drink. It won't work. You'll get sad again. That's a spoiler. I don't know.
And if you're on pain meds, you're either dealing with bigger issues or you're in pain. And Tiger has made it quite evident over the past 7 years that he is probably in some serious, lifelong, debilitating pain.
I think we're on back surgery 4.
Yeah, and what was so sad about it is he just said like 10 days ago that he was good to go. He was ready to attack maybe the PGA Championship. I was excited about maybe seeing him one last time at Quail Hollow.
He couldn't twist for 8 weeks, but then he's going to be back on the course. And I was like, man, I didn't want to believe it because we've been hurt so many times these last 8-9 years. But I held out hope. I'm still holding out hope. Tiger Woods, y'all. Let's move on to the other finals that are happening right now. Stanley Cup Finals, Nashville and Pittsburgh. The old guard versus the new guard, very much, including a Southern team that has really adopted this whole hockey thing.
This is the SEC's hockey team.
Did you catch any of Game 1?
I caught the highlights. I completely whiffed on it being on. I know Game 2 is happening as we record. The results will be in the papers when y'all get this podcast tomorrow.
What's a paper?
Yeah. Well, the paper is the internet.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah. But, so yeah, Game 1 went a little haywire there for a second. It looked like Pittsburgh was going to run away with it, correct?
Well, yeah, not just that. You look at the shot totals, and Pittsburgh scored on 47% of their shots. And you talk to the Preds coach going into the third period. They asked him what he thought of the game. He said, we love everything but the score. They had more shots on goal. They had more attacking time. They had more power plays. Everything but the score worked in Nashville's favor. And I got to think that at some point they would come back to earth. That said, Crosby's still not playing like Crosby yet. I don't know if he turns it on as the stage gets bigger and the lights get brighter. But I think that this is my favorite time of year, and I don't feel bad saying it, because high-level basketball and high-level hockey, overtime of a playoff hockey game is the greatest period of time in sports.
Yeah, I have not apologized to my live-in girlfriend for watching some 12:30 a.m. playoff hockey over the past couple months.
How could you? How can you apologize? That's the thing, because I do believe the fiance had similar reservations about the amount of hockey that was happening. But she sat and watched and was like, wait, it's all so fast. I'm like, yes, get involved. Care about it. Yes, at least pretend. All we need you to do is pretend, really. So we'll see what happens with the rest of the Stanley Cup Finals. We'll be checking with that periodically. Lastly, and So the Nats and the Giants got into a baseball fight.
Oh, you want to talk about moralizing some more?
Well, it's always, it's part of the game. One of the guys. We'll talk about that difference in a second. I got a serious question, man. I watched old buddy get hit in the face. Where's the blood?
I think baseball players dip too much to where if you hit them in the face, you've got like a good solid inch layer of tobacco before you catch any blood. I don't know.
It was.
I mean, when
like if you hit someone in the face, like I have been involved in a freakish or two in my time. When you hit someone in the face, things happen.
Yeah, the body reacts in certain ways where generally there is some liquid damage there.
Like, in the words of fabled Raw announcer Jim Ross, there's an exchange of DNA. Something's gonna give. You may crack open a knuckle if you the guy you don't hit the, I don't know. It made no sense to me. Baseball fights make no sense to me. How is this the one sport, now hockey aside, where we just kind of hockey as well, kind of accept that fighting just sort of happens and we're okay with it?
But it doesn't just sort of happen. Baseball fights are so.
I'm so glad you're saying this.
Meticulously.
I'm so glad you're saying this.
This guy Hunter Strickland got hit for 2 home runs in the playoffs in 2014 and had not faced Bryce Harper since. The first at bat Bryce Harper gets against him 3 years later. I was 26 years old when Harper hit these home runs in the playoffs. Strickland apparently goes rogue and says he's going to hit him. The best part of this is generally the catcher becomes the go-between. Buster Posey just completely washed his hands of the situation just from Jump Street and said, this is going to happen. I want no part of this.
Well, I want to go back to what you said, the manufactured nature of baseball fights. Because here's my thinking. There's never been a baseball fight where everyone was really pissed off. How can I tell you, Chad? If you hit me at 90 miles an hour with a ball and I'm holding a bat, I'm not putting down the bat, Chad. If I'm really mad,
both of them
that bat, this is not going to be a fight. It's going to be a chase. It's going to be Tom and fucking Jerry.
As well it should be. I'm surprised no player's ever thrown the ball back. Those things are dangerous. Those things are hard.
They accept it. It's the craziest shit in the world. It's like the hockey goons who are like, you want to go in this period? And they decide to fight. It's like, I got to send a message. Got to look good for my teammates. It's all performative. It's not even like genuine fake emotion. It's the weirdest thing in the world. And the more I think about baseball fights, the more I'm like, because if you hit someone 90 miles an hour, let's say in the shoulder, that could very easily have been their face. The person you're mad at is the pitcher's mound away, and you're holding a bat.
And this is somehow only the second dumbest baseball fight of the year.
Why are you putting down the bat?
Well, Bryce Harper did try to use another weapon. He tried to throw his helmet, and that didn't work out so well.
Christ. That goes, and for all the times I've defended, like not really, but kind of baseball players and athletes, that was not helping my case. It really.
Yeah, it's almost like he had a bout of conscience mid helmet toss.
No, see, and that's another of the manufactured anger. If you're gonna throw your helmet, you're at a place where you're like, F it, I'm throwing this helmet.
I would have to agree. The other one though was more egregious, where the Red Sox threw at Manny Machado 5 times before they finally hit him.
Yo, if you throw at me, we are going to fight.
They threw behind him. They threw at his head, and they could not hit him. The elusive stick man, Manny Machado.
You would have missed me once.
But when you throw behind me, it's over. Like at that point, it's on.
Oh, if you threw behind me or at my head, if that's the first one, there is no second throw.
That should be the.
It's a wrap. We're gonna have a conversation at the pitcher's mound. It's a wrap. I'm tipping for baseball, man. I'm telling you.
Such a weird sport.
Such a weird sport. And the craziest shit in the world, the craziest thing about it, this is the most press they're going to get till the All-Star break. It takes a fight. It takes a ridiculous fight, but it takes a fight for the world to sit up and listen. It led like morning shows. They're talking about ESPN. They're getting the coveted UD pod bump.
My God.
All in the strength of a fight. And I will not talk about baseball again until I figure out just how badly the Braves are gripped in Cobb County and the All-Star break. Because I'll talk about the home run derby because I'll come on here and tell you how boring it was. Because guess what? Every year it's boring as hell.
Pretty much. There's only one good All-Star game. I don't think we know that.
We're about to talk about the league it comes from. And you're only saying that because you don't watch NHL, because when they actually pick teams in front of you is hilarious. It's a great. They have a 3-on-3 tournament. They pick teams. It's amazing. The last guy picked, I think it's a truck.
A truck?
Yeah, I think he's like a pickup truck.
That's a hell of a consolation prize.
It's the funniest shit in the world. But let's talk about the NBA. That's why we're here. That's why you're listening. And I want to extend an olive branch, a hand of welcome, maybe not a hug, to casual NBA fan. Hi, casual NBA fan. You think the regular season's way too long and that the players should play every night if they're going to play.
The playoffs are garbage.
You think, oh, I'm getting to them. You think that only one or two teams matter, and they don't even try. These guys don't care. I like college ball where they love it.
The passion. Slap the floor.
These playoffs are trash. I've never seen two teams run through the NBA like this. Why is the league so broken? And the last one you are. And those are the ones I'll welcome. Those are the casual NBA guys. I get it. Kind of, not really. You just don't want to watch whatever. Welcome to the greatest show on earth, these next 7 games. That's the period of time Chad and I call LeBronuKah.
And I will say, it is only fitting that we record this podcast on the 10th anniversary of LeBron officially making the league his with 25 straight points against Detroit.
Step on future segments. That's what I'm going to need you to do.
You know what?
I'm going to need you to not step on future segments.
It's not in the breakdown.
One of these days, Floyd. One of these days.
Man. Speaking of baseball fights.
Those are the casual NBA fans that we welcome here at UDPod. If you are a basketball fan and you say the words, Warriors, Cavs again, out. Get out. Turn off the podcast. You're done. Cutting you off. Seriously, turn it off. Because this is what sports is supposed to be about. A trilogy? We don't get trilogies in sports. This, I think, is the second in major U.S. sports, and the only one where the teams have gone 1-1 against each other. This is the stuff that you write movies about, Chad. This is the stuff that you couldn't script. If you turn in the screenplay, you'd be like, it needs a little something. It doesn't feel like, it feels too foregone, but it feels too right. It feels too perfect. But here we are. Let's talk about the Western Conference playoffs, because it was a fun road to get here, despite what people may have told you. People said they weren't watching. Ratings were up. You tell me. Now, the Warriors have been the Warriors. They have been the preeminent offensive and defensive force in these playoffs, and we'll break them down a little bit later on. I got to talk about some of the bigger stories, though. Are the Clippers done?
I hope so. I'm tired of watching them play them out every year.
Come on, man.
No, I mean, Lob City is no longer exciting to me. Blake Griffin can't stay healthy. DeAndre Jordan just kind of frustrates me, and Chris Paul's never going to get out of the second round. Well, unless he makes one move.
We're about to talk about them next. Look at you. You got the instincts, man. You're ready for that Tar Heel blog, man. You're ready for the podcast. We launched this show, man. You're ready. But you're right. I think that I got to go with you, man. I think Doc and them, I think it's over. I think they've done what they could out of this group. I think it's time to say bye to some pieces. I wonder if Chris Paul will leave all that money on the table, but at the same time, I was the one who came on our old show and said that there's no way Kevin Durant leaves all that money on the table. So what do I really know?
Well, I mean,
go ahead.
Doc's kind of the reason that whole thing's going to fall apart.
That's the thing that gets me, because there's a team out there that recently became in dire need of a point guard, and they're a team that doesn't know how to not get out of the second round. San Antonio Spurs, rumors are already flying ahead of the end of the season about a Chris Paul landing spot in San Antonio. What do you think about that?
I love it. Like, I want a foil for the Warriors, just because more good teams is a great thing. The Spurs were already a great team, and
right.
I think they could have taken the Warriors to 6 had Kawhi Leonard stayed healthy.
Oh, yes.
But a Chris Paul, Kawhi Leonard, LaMarcus Aldridge triumvirate sounds pretty good.
I think it's really nice
with whatever,
to include LaMarcus Aldridge still.
Yeah, it's hard to do, but sometimes you got to throw a bone where you can. But
you're
if not, give him Pau Gasol's aging corpse who still gets buckets, or give him Danny Green who will go off for a random 24 points in one key game. The Spurs are just they used to be my least favorite team to watch. Just slow it down, trash ball, flop, play way too good defense. And then it's like the script was flipped in like 2011, 2012, and they became fascinating to watch. I love watching the Spurs play basketball. I want to see more of it.
I think you're right. I think that this is a good place for Chris to land. What do you think are going to happen with the Rockets? Because I think, regrettably, I think we've seen the ceiling of this team.
I don't know how you could ask for more than what the Rockets brought this year.
They were supposed to win 44 games, and they came out and put together an amazing year. James Harden might be the MVP, but I feel like they got the most out of this group. I think it's that was the ceiling. If the ceiling is the roof, as one of your, I guess, fellow alumnus say.
Yes.
Then
so have they reached both the ceiling and the roof?
I think we've hit them both.
So, I mean, what is kind of fascinating about the Rockets is they are, just on steroids, the Daryl Morey platonic ideal of what he wanted a team to be that he is building in the D League, where your four primary players are James Harden, Eric Gordon, Lou Williams, and Patrick Beverley. They're all listed as guards, and they basically just spread you out and force you to close out on threes, or they're going to beat you to the hole. I mean, they were also a lot of fun, but just completely distinguishable from any other team we've ever seen in NBA history.
Right.
And that, to me, was fun.
Yeah, I agree, man. I think that I hope that they can keep it together and maybe find another piece here or there. I know Gordon Hayward's on the market. Do they need another stretch player? I don't know. But it seems like that spacing game is going to be what they hang their hat on if they're going to continue down this James Harden road fraught with free throws and three-pointers.
That's it.
And there are worse roads to go down, I'll be honest. Now let's go to the East, where let's talk about it first. The Hawks, yeah.
Were they in the playoffs?
How dare you? We pushed Washington to 7. How dare you?
Oh, man.
Look, it's not good. The Dwight thing's not working. I'm done with the rose-colored glasses out.
Did you expect the Dwight thing to work?
I hoped. I didn't expect it to, but I hoped. It's important to hope. That's what sports are for. Chad.
The thing is, y'all can probably offload him to like the Knicks or the Nets or somebody
God,
and
I'm
get
just waiting for Billy King
dollars on the penny.
God, just one of you idiot GMs who I've mocked on this podcast for years. Come on, do it. Be immortal. Free me of Dwight Howard. Hire Hornets.
Well.
All right then. When we're swinging arrows, buddy. How the Hornets doing?
You know what? We made trades to go for the 8th seed because Michael Jordan is probably to a fault idiotically competitive. So looking at that 10th pick in the draft, I'm sure that lanky white dude from Gonzaga is going to fit right into the plans to replace Cody Zeller or Frank Kaminsky or any other of the litany of lanky white dudes we've got. I'd love to see one of those top of the line point guards fall to him, but they won't do it because they'll think they're pissing off Kemba Walker, who's fine. But yeah, Hornets suck.
All right, well, so I'm glad both of us are in a deep malaise about our basketball teams. Let's talk about what I think is the most interesting offseason story, and that's the Boston Celtics. So we got a very much object lesson on where the Celtics actually stand in the East, and it's about 44 points back of the Cavs. And that's with a semi, let me do this again. I did it a couple episodes ago. All those Isaiah Thomas, Allen Iverson comparisons, shut your fucking mouth. It's a wrap.
Yeah,
right? We're done with that. Okay, good. Now
we're although Iverson got close a couple of times before he broke through. I don't know if Thomas is on that same trajectory, but I don't think he ever has been.
Iverson was never a turnstile on defense.
No, he was not. And the thing about it is the Celtics have so many other good one-on-one defenders. You would almost think that you could go ahead and hide them. You can't hide that against the Cavs. You can't hide that in the modern NBA.
Like, they're like, someone said to me before that series, I don't know, Isaiah could get it. I'm like, yo, but when the Cavs have the ball, the MVP is whoever Isaiah is guarding. It's giving the ball an ISO. It could be Tristan Thompson at the 3.
Iman Shumpert was getting buckets
Oh
against.
well, yeah.
Against
Look, I think that, but the question now becomes: I think we've seen kind of how good this Celtics team can be. You can't max out Isaiah Thomas. You just can't. But do you
I think what you do is
do you bring him
max out
back?
his. Now you max out his value while he's
But he's not. So you do a sign and
sympathetic.
trade?
He's sympathetic. He's a draw. He's awesome to go watch. Like I'd pay to go see him play. I wouldn't pay to have him be the lead player on my team. You draft Markelle Fultz #1 overall and get whoever else you can get, and you've got still a pretty stacked roster.
You and I are going to have many an offline conversation about Markelle Fultz because he won 9 basketball games last year, and I am disgusted by this talk.
Well,
No,
that is
offline. We got to move on. Offline,
okay.
we will
How do you feel
discuss
about
this. I know you wanted to go, but I had to stop
Okay.
you. So people who say they're boring, the playoffs have been boring. Those are storylines that we just picked out of the air that have been deeply intriguing. I'm not even talking about the fact that LeBron James legitimately may have crushed 3 franchises in this playoffs because Indiana's going to lose Paul George. The Raptors were openly like, something got to change, man. And he exposed Isaiah Thomas. I was yelling expose him at the top of my lungs during game 1 every time they went in Isaiah. Expose him. It was amazing.
Okay, and you can't call the playoffs boring if you watch the first half of game 2 where the Cavs put up a 40-point lead in a half against an NBA team that's one of the 4 best teams in the NBA.
See, and that's where I think people have run into the problem of what they think they want the NBA to be. I think you're right. People think exciting means close. Exciting in the NBA has never meant close. People said they wanted parity in the NBA. You've never wanted parity. 2 teams shouldn't run the league. Tell Boston and LA that in the 80s. Tell Chicago and insert Western Conference challenger here in the 90s. This is what the NBA does. It's built around super teams. It's built around powerhouses. That's why we celebrate the NBA. That's why March Madness doesn't make any sense to me because it seems to celebrate mediocrity. We in basketball celebrate greatness. There are not posters that say, "Look at the starting 5 of the 2011 Celtics," or maybe there are, but there are more Jordan. There are way more Jordan posters.
2004 Pistons.
There are way more Jordan posters. There are way more Kobe posters. There are way more LeBron posters. Or maybe I don't know, kids don't have posters anymore, do they?
That's actually a great question.
Okay, I apologize if posters was a dated reference. But you know what I'm saying? That these players are recognizable because of their personalities, because of their greatness, not because they were scrappy underdogs who barely made it. No one likes that story in the NBA. That's why I reveled in every smashing of the Celtics, save Game 3, whatever happened. Now, if you thought all that was boring, I got nothing for you. I can tell you that this finals is legitimately on all levels exciting. This is the end of a trilogy. This is, will they stick the landing after Empire? The answer was no. This is fucking Muppets, man. This is what everyone says was complaining about having, but now that it's in front of you, you can't believe you've actually got it. This is the best 2 teams over the past 3 years. Demonstrably, meeting in the finals. Let's go with the challenger first. That's right, the team that lost last year, even though you may not know, listening to the press, the Warriors. In the offseason, they went and added Kevin Durant, who had blown a 3-1 lead to the Warriors earlier in the playoffs last year. He leaves Oklahoma City, comes to Golden State, and is now in his second finals. He was asked, does he feel any pressure, or is he happy just to be here? He said, the reporter said that he smirked at him and said, "What do you think? Kevin Durant, this is your second finals in 7 years.
5
Slow
less
your
than
roll.
James Jones.
Pump your brakes. You're not tied. You know who just tied for finals appearances? Harrison Barnes. And he did it in 2 years.
Harrison Barnes got a ring.
Let's not act like this is some foregone conclusion. And we'll talk about this later when we have our LeBronUKAH celebration. If LeBron James made the finals twice in 9 years, I don't think they would tear him apart. They'd tear him apart. So,
Well, if LeBron loses the finals 3 times in however many years, they tear him apart. I mean, we've already seen that.
But no. So my question for you is kind of, how do you view Durant's legacy going into this, his second final?
I mean, I used to be a big Kevin Durant apologist. Have always loved his game. Love what he does on the court. at some point he just kind of became a diva with the media. And I don't like to, start defending the media or anything, but he just kind of sounds like a bitch.
I'm okay. You know what? I'm actually okay with that. What I don't like is that, I don't know if it's because the injuries, inconsistent play. I think at some point he just kind of became a guy to me.
Yeah, and the thing is, he is far from a guy.
He's 7 feet tall and hits 3-pointers. He is the furthest thing from just a guy. But at some point, somehow, some way, he fell out of that stratosphere into the area of, he's just a guy, man. He's a great guy. He's one of the top guys, but he's just a guy.
He was no longer the alpha in Oklahoma City when he left, and he
took more shots. But I think you're right in that, I think stat-wise.
But that was in a dick swinging contest, though.
Well, that's the thing is I think that Russ's personality dominated the locker room more. But make no mistake, that was his team. Russ only averaged 23 points a game that year, the last year he was there, because it was Kevin Durant's team. And I don't know if it was just me. I don't feel any kind of way, honestly, about his decision to go to Oklahoma City, to leave Oklahoma City. If I left my job for a better job and y'all hated on me, I wouldn't understand it either. He found a better job, and he's not living in Oklahoma City anymore. And Chad, did you hold that against him?
No, I'm all for. I mean, these guys get paid very well for what they do. Go to where you want to be and play for who you want to play for.
Amen to that, brother. I got a question.
So it makes it really fun because this looks exactly, and I'm just looking over their roster right now. It looks exactly like a team I'd build on NBA 2K.
Well, that's kind of the thing, because you're right. The team has kind of ended up being one of those build-a teams. Oh my God, I can't believe it's on the court right now. But let's talk about what happened last year, because it feels like no one is. There's this overarching theme, and we're going to talk about why in a second, of the Warriors' inevitability. They blew a 3-1 lead in the finals, and no one seems to mention that. Again, I got to use the comparison because he is the high watermark. If LeBron James blew a 3-1 lead in the finals, that's how they would open every story about him. LeBron James, who blew a 3-1 lead in the finals, had 47 points, 12 rebounds, and 8 assists last night. Meanwhile, there's a certain babyface assassin on the other side who has, in 2 straight finals, not shown up in the big spots, and no one's saying anything about his legacy. Is this because the media likes Golden State, or is this just another testament to how good LeBron is?
I mean, everything's a testament to how good LeBron is. I know I've gone through this on this podcast. He was worth 22 wins to the Cavaliers his rookie year. He took a starting lineup that included Ira Newble to the finals in 2007. He's almost too good for his own good. Baseball has the stat WAR, wins above replacement, where Mike Trout leads the league every year at about 9.
Who, by the way,
I honestly
we should know who he is. Mike Trout may end up being a top 10 baseball player of all time, and I couldn't pick out a lineup. Sorry.
No, and I mean he just looks like a chubby dude you'd run into at Tin Roof in Atlanta or something.
Shout out.
But LeBron, every time he has made a drastic change in his career, either from high school to the Cavs, or from the Cavs to the Heat, or from the Heat back to the Cavs, he's been worth about 20 to 30 wins a year in an 80-game season.
You're right.
And he is, if you replace any 2 players on the Warriors with LeBron James, they won 70 games and they're in the finals, and we're not even having a discussion about this right now.
Right. Well, let's ask, do you think that 3-1, if they don't win this year, 3-1 becomes kind of the calling card of this Warriors experiment? Because it's not going to last forever. They're already in the luxury tax. Steph's about to get paid. Is this kind of the last chance for the 3-1 game? Which I'm going to call them that until they win another title.
The Heat got a second chance when they built their super team. The Cavs lost it in year 1 when they had their super team. The Warriors will be back next year, and they'll either win this one or the next one. I mean, what's crazy to me is you look at their roster and you're like, oh shit, they still have Andre Iguodala. What?
Who's I guess, hit the fountain of youth. He's looking great in these playoffs. Do you have any issues?
And he was a key he was a key component to the series last year.
Yeah, huge. You know what? He's another one of those so-called LeBron stoppers that we really got to stop saying.
I don't think there's such thing. Case in point, Jay Crowder.
So Draymond is out here calling other players, including other players, dirty. how do we feel about this? So I don't feel great about
Very poorly.
it.
Very poorly. I think the really bad thing when you run into a team that goes from underdog to evil empire, like the Warriors are kind of starting to do, is they lose their self-awareness. And you have Kevin Durant, making comments as if this is his 5th finals and he's got 3 rings already. You've got Draymond Green just going complete psychopath when you could just say, oh, hey, I lead in 4 of the 5 major categories on this team in the playoffs. We should look at that instead of talking about how dirty I am. It just makes them less fun to watch because 3 years ago, we all loved going on the Warriors train and just watching them chuck up 43s a game and beat teams by 30 points. And that's just not the case anymore. There's no self-awareness with Draymond Green when he's calling somebody else dirty.
It's crazy to me. And what's even crazier as we lay out some of these things, it's so wild that they're still seems such a likable team. It seems pretty unlikable to me, but it doesn't mean they aren't damn good. Chad, can you give me like 1 or 2 really good reasons why the Warriors are going to win this series?
Man, I mean, they just got too many ways to attack you. You got, at any given time, Curry, Durant, Thompson, Iggy, Draymond. I mean, just anybody you put on the floor. Sean Livingston took over game 1 of the finals, if you remember last year. I mean,
they such a good matchup problem.
He's 6'8", and he can handle the rock and occasionally get hot. JaVale McGee's probably going to go off one game this series. I mean, it's just such. You're never going to have everybody on an off night. So I mean, really, you have to execute your game to an A and hope they play at a B+.
It's so wild because even as we talk about their offensive acumen, they're defensively their rates through the roof because you end up chasing them.
Yeah, and they force you into a tempo where, Steph comes down, hits a 35-footer. You've got to go down and try to answer that somehow. And, I mean, especially in Golden State, you can't do that because poor Damian Lillard said the Blazers were going to beat him in 6.
He was kidding. He was laughing.
Yeah, I know. But, I mean, poor guy. They lost the 4 games by a combined about 130 points.
Yeah, and I think they got off light, honestly, because it could have been way worse.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the Cavs. This is the team that everyone said regular season kind of coasted. I mean, yes. Do I think that the team could have played harder? I think that Tyronn Lue and the guys on this team also recognize that they've got someone on their team who's not playing for the most wins ever. He's playing for legacy at this point. He's not. There are no peers to LeBron James in this league, and by being on his team, it's elevated the spotlight, but also elevated kind of the idea that we're not playing for a Saturday in February. We're playing for June.
What's weird is I just heard 30 casual NBA fans come back in, and they said, yeah, the season's too long, and they don't try.
But I think that this is such a unique case. This is a team that, let's say you don't believe that the season's too long or needs to be spaced out better, which I do. Let's just say you think that they played their 82. Both this team and the Warriors played an additional 20 games last year. They played 102 games. They were off for literally 2 months. Some people played Worlds, and then they were back at it again. If anyone's earned a break in the
Olympics
season,
happened too.
It's these 2 teams.
They've been here 3 years in a row. There are 2 guys on this Cavaliers team who have been to now 7 straight finals. Shout out James Jones, by the way. He's played a whopping 50 minutes in this playoffs.
It's really, really, really important who you know.
Yeah. I'm surprised Ray Allen, Sean Marion, some of these guys aren't sticking around on these teams.
Ray could have gotten a check and a ring. That's how they got Kyle Korver, because he didn't want to come. I guarantee it.
Yeah, Mo Williams is still floating around the league somewhere. I can't believe he's not here.
He and LeBron must have had a falling out, because when LeBron got back, he brought Mo in. And the next year after they lost, Mo was gone.
Yeah.
I may have watched the Cavs movements a little bit too closely, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, it didn't occur to me that they had Darren Williams, who is probably still at least a replacement level point guard, and starting in the NBA, coming off their bench is like an eighth
The
man.
guy's a multiple-time All-Star, and that's what I think that you've reached that kind of plateau with the Cavs where people are like, oh, you can't coast. No team can flip a switch. Wrong. This team can.
Yes, you can.
This team can flip all the switches. They've been flipped. Oh my God, my head and face, what's happening? Like, that's what's happened in this playoffs. And I think that, let's go to you first. How do you see the Cavs winning this?
The Cavs are probably in a better spot than they have been the past 2 years. You've got Kevin Love both engaged and playing out of his freaking mind.
Last year he wasn't healthy. He came in underweight because of the offseason surgery.
And he wasn't healthy the year before that. And then Kyrie Irving broke his kneecap in game 1 of that finals back in 2015. Irving's playing out of his mind, being efficient, and letting LeBron handle the primary ball handler duties, with Kyrie just handling the ball to make people look stupid on defense and put them on yo-yos. Love's been just absolutely exceptional. And then you look at the role players: Thompson, Fry, Smith, Korver, Darren Williams, even Shumpert, Richard Jefferson. They're all playing a part. And they're playing it all very well. I can't believe Richard Jefferson's still on that team.
Yo, he graduated Arizona with Luke Walton. Luke Walton's a coach.
Jesus Christ. Luke Walton's coaching the Lakers. That's going to last. But you kind of see year one when LeBron comes back, there's improvement. Year two, everything starts to gel. Everybody figures out their role. I mean, you saw it in Miami, you see it here. Year three, they're dangerous, and I think the Warriors are going to win just because that's the way I see it. But my God, if the Cavs play their A game and really probably call it 3 games of this series, I think they've got even odds.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I think that there are a lot of ways the Cavs can win here. I think mostly it's the depth because, like you said, the guys below them, they've all been on big stages. They've all stepped up. I think that it's going to be really interesting to see how the shots start to go when this particular Warriors team is missing, when they're going to miss. The Cavs play better defense. They're given credit for Pacheco on the perimeter. They're going to miss threes.
Yeah.
What happens? Last year when they missed threes, things started to fall apart. People got hot under the collar. Is Steve Kerr going to be coaching? Who knows? It's a big wrinkle. I think matchup-wise, it's a closer matchup problem than you think. You look at the point guard position. Steph is Steph. He's going to Steph. Steph can't check Kyrie. Steph can't check Kyrie with help.
Kyrie can't really check Steph either, but I feel you.
He doesn't have to. Like Steph's good because Steph, for all the things we say about Steph, and he does create on his own, he gets his very much in the flow of that offense. And it's not like Steph's not here to not score and not get his. The question is, again, like I said earlier, is this a Steph that's going to wilt again in the finals? 2 guard, JR and Clay. Clay's not hitting. Give me JR. At the 3, if Kevin Durant, since he got to the league, has been a question, a mystery, the answer since he got in the league has been LeBron James.
And the way I see this playing out, you're going to have Shumpert more at the 3, just locking him down with LeBron playing the 4, which is always so much more fun.
And if we get LeBron, and that's kind of the wrinkle I was hoping for, because LeBron on Draymond is a fascinating matchup. Not at all for a little bit, because Draymond definitely called him a bitch in the media last year. LeBron James lost one playoff game since then, and he peeled off 3 in a row to finish off the Warriors after Draymond called him a bitch.
And I was going to say, it's fascinating for nothing that's going to happen anywhere except for between the ears of the Warriors. Because if LeBron's just owning Draymond Green, then all the rest of it just falls into place for the Cavs, because that's where that's I think where the Cavs have their advantage, is just mentally that 3-1 starts to creep back into their head, because
it can't not.
Because the best player in the world's posting up your emotional leader, and I don't know what you're going to do about that.
And that's the last reason I think the Cavs can win here is because you don't get rich betting against LeBron James. You also don't get rich betting the Spurs take the under on their win total. That's free advice for everyone. But LeBron James is
Not until Greg Popovich is dead, buried, and I have confirmed video surveillance on his casket.
Right? LeBron James is locked in a way that I've never seen. People say, oh, he had a down year. He averaged 25, 8, and 8, which is the highest rebounds and assists of his career. We're at year 10 of him being undisputably the best player on the planet without any sign of slowing down. As Chad mentioned earlier, 10 years ago to the day of this recording, he erased the Detroit Pistons. And that's something else I want to bring up. When talking about LeBron's greatness, he doesn't just beat your team. He erases them. Remember those 04 Pistons? They were great. Man, they got that one title off the Lakers. What happened to them? LeBron James happened to them. And they went away forever. The Celtics, they're up and coming. Hey, new big three. LeBron James flushed them in Cleveland, stumbled in it 1 year, and then flushed them again in Miami to the point that Paul Pierce ended up on the Nets.
And KG, for what it's worth. But KG didn't really end up on the Nets.
Your team. LeBron Jeffrey James, no, it's not his middle name. I'm trying to make a point here. For the last 7 years, unlike anything I've ever seen in my lifetime, he's been the boss battle of the video game of the NBA. You may win, you may lose, but you're in for a hell of a fight because you've got to go through the boss to rescue the princess from the castle. You want to claim you're the best in the league? The road travels through LeBron James, not through Cleveland, not through Miami, through whatever town he decides to grace with his presence over the past 7 years. It's uncanny, it's unreal, and I want us to appreciate him while we've got him because, Chad, it's got to stop at some point, right? I also sound like every Eastern Conference GM, like just, it has to slow down.
At some point, it's got to end, but, I mean, just the longevity of this man.
No injuries.
You texted me that screenshot the other day of Jordan versus James in his 12th season. That was cruel. But it does just elucidate the point. This man's played over 50,000 minutes, has never missed significant time to injury, has dragged shitty teams kicking and screaming all the way to the finals. And the Skip Baylesses of the world, the Charles Barkleys of the world want to say, oh, yeah, he's a bitch. He wouldn't have survived in my league. It's just heinous at this point.
He's Karl Malone on steroids and speed. How would he not have dominated any league you put in front of him?
He's Karl Malone and Magic Johnson morphed on steroids and speed.
He's the platonic ideal of basketball player.
I know what question you're going to ask me, and I'm just going to say 1B.
All right, that's fine. I wasn't going to say yet, but I am going to get to that because I do have a point to make about that. It's LeBron. Like it's getting to the point where it's getting weird because you know what occurred to me this year, Chad?
What's that?
We're at year 14 and he's still at the peak of his powers. He could play till he's 40 because of his passing and court vision. Like if he rolled back some of the scoring and transitioned to like a point forward role, why can't he play till he's 42?
I've always thought he should be a point forward.
Like if he comes out and 1 year, let's just say he makes the transition and he's averaging 21 and 13 a game. He's still an all-star. That's the craziest shit in the world. He is. I don't know where it ends. Lord help us all. If you're in the Eastern Conference, you cheer for a team, man. Like we meet at the bar. I don't want to tell you, we're all gonna be real sad for a couple of years now.
I mean, the nice thing about Hornets tickets is that they're cheap.
But you're right. So you said 1B, and you know what the question is: 23 versus 23. Who do you have? 1B is a fair answer.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with that because that's a little bit of a hedge because I've gotten to see a lot more of LeBron. I've been just perfectly amazed by what he's done. I mean, we called it the last 10 years, and even before that, you're like, my God, this man-child is just so talented. Jordan, meanwhile, I mean, he was indescribable. And the man won 6 rings well after his athletic prime. LeBron's probably not in his athletic prime anymore, but if he tacks on 2 more rings, I mean, you've got serious talks
See,
to
I'm
have.
not even a ring guy. Like I'm talking about, like, for me, it comes down to, like, on the court production, and people want to say, oh, it took him more games to break Jordan's scoring record in the playoffs. It took him fewer shots, about 100. He'd already passed him in rebounds and assists miles ago.
Oh yeah.
This is the most well-rounded singular athlete I've in basketball, because Serena Williams is the greatest athlete of my lifetime. I'm sorry. In basketball, he has redefined what basketball means. He's changed the game. People say, oh, he built a super team. No. He didn't build a super team, you lying sacks of shit. If you remember the narrative on both Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love before LeBron James, they were on his team. It was,
they'd never made the playoffs.
Can't make the playoffs, can't get it done with those guys as your main pieces. He shows up, and all of a sudden, they're God's gift. Maybe, just maybe, it's the LeBron factor you talked about earlier. People want to take shots at LeBron James, want to tell you, oh, the things he isn't. Think about what he is. Why are we so afraid to recognize greatness? And I'm telling you all this, I'm telling you these numbers, and I can only say to you right now, as I sit in front of you, on May 31st, 2017, the greatest basketball player I've ever seen in my entire life is Michael Jeffrey Jordan. I don't know what to do. I don't tell you. I don't know how you change it. I'm looking at it as plainly and logically as possible. I should have said LeBron James. But you're right. Like, they're just, I don't know if it's because I was a kid when it was happening, and it was like I grew up watching Michael Jordan win titles. Like,
it does add to the aura.
That's my childhood. Like, maybe I'm more jaded now. LeBron is my class. Like, it's crazy to me. I don't know. All I do know is that if I could divorce the emotion, it wouldn't be a contest, and it wouldn't be in Jordan's favor.
I mean, let's just put it this way. One-on-one, I think I take LeBron.
Oh, God, yes. LeBron just turns around and backs Michael Jordan down in the paint.
Well, yeah, and I did rewatch that game. I did rewatch that game 5.
How big LeBron James is.
Remember when Tayshaun Prince was the best defender in the league?
And LeBron James ate him alive?
I mean, he could blow by him, or he could post him up, hit the fadeaway, take him to the basket. I mean, that was 10 years ago. That skill set's developed, and he's still.
It was 10 years ago. It was like humorous, and then it got weird, and then by the end of the game, it was scary because you would watch LeBron James again. He didn't just beat your team. That's the end of that era in Detroit. He closes your door. He makes you reconsider everything you know. And you know how I know it worked on the Warriors too? Because they went out and signed Kevin Durant.
At the same time, they also had the capability of signing Kevin Durant.
Yeah, but he makes you question everything. It's that time, Chad. I got to hear it. What's your pick?
Oh, man. I came in with Warriors in 6. I wanted, and we're pretty unabashed on here. We're both cheering for Cleveland to win this damn thing.
So heavily. Shout out to Lauren Brill, who's going to be calling it. She's been on the podcast before, man. Get to see the UD Pod carry you to another finals. I'm taking credit. Go ahead.
I like it. Oh, man. I was not prepared for this question. I intentionally avoided doing any kind of prep for it.
Let's do it. Speak from your heart.
I think we're going to have another happy LeBronuka in 7 games.
It's another wonderful LeBronuka. I couldn't agree more, except I'm calling it in 6. He finishes it in the land.
Shit.
I might be wrong. And guess what? If I'm wrong, I'll be wrong. But you get pretty far in life betting on the best player on the planet.
That is always the trump card, is it not?
And they go to the series. Who is the best player in the series? Cleveland does. I think 2 and 3 might be in Golden State. But I also think
maybe 4.
I think 2 and 3. I think 3 and 4 are in Cleveland, with the way Kevin Love's been playing. Like, people were talking about Game 5. He pulled, or game 4, I guess, he pulled a 17-17, and no one mentioned it.
No, and then was it game 1 where he had 22 at half?
Yeah, yeah. It's.
I mean, Kevin Love, the guy who looks like the platonic ideal of a Celtics player, buried the Celtics in 24 minutes.
Oh man, I'll tell you what, man. I'll tell you what. I picked my pick. We made our picks. What I'm cheering for is not just the Cavs. I'm cheering for great basketball. I think we're gonna get it. Chad Floyd, tell the people where to find you, man.
Hey, Chad_Floyd on Twitter. Currently getting into breaking down UNC football on TarHeelBlog.com, an SB Nation site. Also, occasionally, sometimes, probably need to have this man on, podcasting over at Dude You Podcast, DudeYouCrazy.net. I've just found nothing to talk about with Georgia football this offseason because I'm just annoyed with Kirby Smart already.
All you can write is Coach Smart's a putz. Well, Chad, thanks for coming on, man. It's always a pleasure.
Oh, man, always pleasure. Thanks for having me.
And like I said, check him out, guys. The Tar Heel blog stuff is going to be really good. Guy knows his football, and no one seems to care about Tar Heel football more than Chad Floyd. I was his roommate. Trust me. I mean, I do know this. This is the Name Decision Podcast. You can follow the show on Twitter at UDPod. You can follow me on Twitter at DPalm66. You can follow the entire MTR network at the MTR network. Make sure you subscribe to the iTunes Store, leave 5-star reviews. And this is normally where I'd say, that was your show, this is your outro. But I've got something else to say. This morning, a slur was spray painted across LeBron James' house. And aside from the fact that this should silence any people who tell me that, oh, it's not racism, it's just class, guys. It's just economic solvency will solve all this. Racism doesn't exist. And this is one of the other reasons I'm cheering for LeBron James. Because if this happened in a home that I lived in, and my children were home, and my wife was home, and I wasn't, I don't know. I do know. I wouldn't have an enemy be as eloquent as he was in the pressure day during media availability. This is a conversation with, I guess, SI. You've always been, this is the question, you've always been outspoken about social issues, and it seems you're kind of in the middle of one. The incident of your home in Los Angeles, do you have any comments on that? These are LeBron James' words. I mean, as I sit here on the eve of one of the greatest sporting events that we have in sports, race and what's going on comes again on my behalf and on my family's behalf. But I look at it as this. I mean, if this is to shed a light and continue to keep the conversation going on my behalf, then I'm okay with it. My family is safe. At the end of the day, they're safe, and that's what's most important. But it just goes to show you that racism will always be a part of the world, a part of America. And you know, hate in America, especially for African Americans, is living every day. And even though it's concealed most of the time, even though people hide their faces and will say things about you when they see you, they smile in your face, it's a life every single day. And I think back to Emmett Till's mom, actually. It's kind of one of the first things I thought of, and the reason she had an open casket is because she wanted to show the world what her son went through as far as a hate crime being black in America. So it's like it doesn't, no matter how much money you have, no matter how famous you are, no matter how many people admire you, being black in America it's tough. We've got a long way to go for us as a society, for us African Americans, until we feel equal in America. But my family is safe, and that's what's important. Never in my lifetime. Doc Rivers, when he was a Spur, had his house burned down by racists. Adam Jones called a nigger in the outfield, and everyone's telling me it didn't happen. I tip my cap to LeBron James as a basketball player, obviously, but as a man, because I would not have been as eloquent. I would not have. I like to think I would have such a perspective, but him saying that in 2017, with the position he has, and the outreach he has, and the voice he has, it matters. And it's absolute horseshit that we still got to deal with this. And I don't know if it just hit me harder because we're custom playoffs or whatever, but yeah. Yeah, that's about it. And we'll be back. I'm taking this weekend off. I don't know if you guys realize, but all our shows are done for reviews for the year. And I deserve a weekend off, so I'm taking it. You guys got a bonus show on Wednesday. That's why you subscribe so you don't miss any updates. But we'll be back next week with a great guest. And I'll probably drop something midweek for you just because, good Lord, these finals are going to be amazing. That was your show. This is your outro. See you next week.